Hello, and welcome to Obscure Poets of History, everything you need to blag your way through poetry with me, Ben Moore.
And me, Nick Sanders.
This time, we're talking about John Betjeman.
Oh, Sir John Betjeman.
Sir John Betjeman. Sir John.
You've got a slap on the wrist already when you just started.
Sir John Betjeman.
Are you going to read a poem, Ben?
I think I will.
Start us off.
Yeah, we'll start off with a poem. Slough. Come, friendly bombs, and fall on Slough. It isn't fit for humans now. There isn't grass to graze a cow. Swarm over death. Come, bombs, and blow to smithereens those air-conditioned bright canteens. Tinned fruit, tinned meat, tinned milk, tinned beans, tinned mines, tinned breath. Mess up the mess they call a town. A house for 97 down, and once a week a half a crown for 20 years. And get that man with double chin who'll always cheat and always win, who washes his repulsive skin in women's tears. And smash his desk of polished oak, and smash his hands so used to stroke, and stop his boring dirty joke and make him yell. But spare the bald young clerks who add the profits of the stinking cad. It's not their fault that they are mad, they've tasted hell. It's not their fault they do not know the bird song from the radio. It's not their fault they often go to Maidenhead and talk of sports and makes of cars in various bogus Tudor bars, and daren't look up and see the stars, but belch instead. In labour-saving homes, with care their wives frizz out peroxide hair, and dry it in synthetic air, and paint their nails. Come, friendly bombs, and fall on Slough, to get it ready for the plough. The cabbages are coming now, the earth exhales.
Nice.
So not a big fan of Slough.
No.
John Betjeman.
You know, with the where we do at the end, where we do a poem in the style of mine references Slough.
Does it?
Yeah, I think I've done particularly well there. Bringing.
Is it a nice reference to Slough, or?
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought I'd done well in bringing Slough into my poem.
Okay, just to
it's
get it in
one
there.
of his most famous ones, isn't it?
It is one of his most famous, even though he lived to regret that poem.
He did.
Not popular with the people of Slough for obvious reasons. Did he not also write that during the Second World War, when people being bombed and killed was actually quite a reality?
Well, it was slightly before. I think he wrote it in 1937, so it was slightly before bombing really started in mainland Britain. I think on reflection, he thought it was all a bit too silly, and he disliked it.
He did. It wasn't that he regretted slagging off Slough so much, and the people of Slough who apparently live with the damage to their reputation to this day.
Forever. Yeah, I think he just once the actual bombing started in London and stuff, he thought, I've gone a bit too close to the bone there, a bit too prophetic. And I also wonder whether when he was thinking about writing that poem, he just mispronounced Slough, thinking it was slough, and that's what he thought.
Come, friendly bombs, and fall on slough.
Yeah.
It isn't fit for people now.
Yeah. So, Betch, what are we going to call him? Sir JB? JB?
JB.
The Betch?
Jabes.
Sir Jabes.
Yeah, so we had EBB last time.
Apparently one of the most popular poet laureates since Tennyson.
Oh, really?
Funnily enough, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So all the rest that came before, after Tennyson but before Betjeman, they were just obviously rubbish.
I mean, I can't name a single one of them.
Unloved. John Masefield.
Oh, he was the one before Betjeman, wasn't he?
No, I don't think he was. I think there was another one in between.
No, you're right. No, he died and they considered Betjeman, but thought he was that he wasn't sort of fancy enough. So they picked who was it? Cecil Day-Lewis?
Who?
I'm Googling it now.
Googling it as we speak.
Cecil Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was they chose him.
Good knowledge, Ben.
Even though apparently everyone thought C. Day-Lewis was a bit dull, but he was a safe bet. Which is really what you want when you're being chosen as the poet laureate, is to be thought of as the safe bet.
The safe bet, yeah. And you've got to be part of the establishment as well, haven't you, to get the laureateship, especially in those days. So that's maybe why Betjeman didn't get it until a little bit later on.
Until after 1972.
He struggled with the establishment, didn't he? in his younger days.
Yeah, in his younger days. In his older days, he was very comfortable with the establishment.
He loved the establishment.
He got right in there. He was fully established.
He married into it.
But yes, in his younger days, he struggled somewhat from being a bit of an outsider. Who is he? Where is he from? Where did he start?
Well, he started off very young, I think.
What, as a human being?
When he was born, yes. And then he progressed nicely on. No, I think he came from a quite unusual, well, not unusual, but he was he was an only child, wasn't he? And his father ran one of the most famous haberdashers.
Excellent word, haberdasher.
Haberdasher, yeah. I don't think he was haberdasher. I was thinking of something else. I think he used to make the cabinets. He was a cabinet maker.
Worker.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that he would make a haberdasher's cabinet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
So that's the link, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, and his dad was like third generation in his family of cabinet makers in London. And they had the big factory place on Pentonville Road, right in the middle, on the Monopoly board, yeah. And I think that all the expectation was that Sir JB would move into the family firm, but he was a bit ham-fisted, couldn't cut the mustard. They took him to the workshop once to get him into carpentry, and he managed to, I don't know, sever his finger off or something like that. No, he drove a chisel into his hand, and from that point on, I think it put him off.
Okay, he was a bit I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
His dad initially encouraged him in his poetry when he thought it was just a hobby, and then Jabes was like, "Yeah, actually, I might do this full time." And his dad was like, "You what?
You what?
You what, mate?
I disown you.
That's not a job."
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he quite disowned him. I think he just didn't understand him.
No, it wasn't. He wanted him to come into the family firm and follow his father's footsteps. And his mum, I think, was a bit, but she basically just kind of like had the baby. Oh, there we go. Right, off you go then.
Not sure what to do with that.
Off you go. Be lonely and all by yourself.
Because I think he went off to he did a lot of boarding school.
He did a lot of boarding school, which he didn't like. He went to Marlborough College to board there, which I think was particularly traumatic for him. Probably because he took his teddy bear with him, and that's like the first rule of boarding school is don't show any emotion or emotional attachment to anything other than your football boots.
He took his teddy bear all the way to university with him.
He took his teddy bear everywhere, right through his life. Archibald.
I think he wrote a poem about it. I'm not sure, but he was, before he went to university, he was at his which school was it? Highgate Junior School. One of his teachers was a famous poet.
Oh, who was that?
That was T.S. Eliot.
The T.S. Eliot?
The T.S. Eliot.
Blimey.
Who apparently thought that Betjeman was great, but wasn't all that keen on his poetry.
Story of his life.
Yeah. He's kind of like, he's a good lad. Poetry, not sure. He kind of, the thing I read worded it very carefully and sort of was like, yeah, T.S. Eliot, thought Betjeman was lovely, but was not particularly enthused about his poetry.
I mean, what's not to like about rhyming couplets?
T.S. Eliot, he went through some weird phases. Was he a modernist? He went through some weird phases of writing very strange, obscure, deliberately difficult poetry where nobody knows what's true or if truth exists. It sounds like Betjeman's like, I'm going to have a piece of cake on my lunch break. And everyone's like, yeah, we love that.
It sounds like we should do T.S. Eliot in this podcast series.
Yeah.
Only if only to find out what the T and the S stand for. Yeah, I think the other thing that Benjamin,
that's me,
Sir John Benjeman,
Sir John
Betjeman suffered from was a bit of racism about his name.
Yes,
which name. When he was at school, all the kids said, "Haha, you're German," and obviously not the right time to be of German descent.
It was inconvenient,
but in fact, it was Dutch derivative.
Well, so his claim was that they all thought he was German because it only had one N. No, because it had two N's, I think. So they changed it to have one N instead to avoid it. But previously it had been one N and they'd stuck another N on in the past to avoid seeming Dutch when England was at war with the Netherlands. So apparently his family couldn't catch a break.
You couldn't win, could you?
But it's a very distinctive name. You don't meet many Betjemans.
No, I don't think I've ever met one.
Okay.
So I think, he had traumatic childhood. Hated school, hated Marlborough College because he wasn't sporty, and all he wanted to do was sit in the corner and write poems. and then he only really flourished when he got to Oxford.
Well, he didn't flourish academically.
No, he came away with no degree.
Yeah.
How did he do that? I'm not even sure you could do that these days.
Yeah. Essentially, they dress it up very nicely in his biographies, but he failed. He failed his degree, and they wouldn't enter him into the exam. There was something where students who were likely to fail there to not get an honours degree could be entered into a special exam that would sort of boost their grades, and they wouldn't even let him sit that because they said, and he tried to play up that they were all just prejudiced against him, but actually, apparently, looking through his records, he was terrible. Do
you think he used to sit in the corner with a big D cone on his head? And then they'd all throw bits of paper at him.
I think he felt like he was treated that way.
Screw up his poems and throw them at him.
Because his tutor at Oxford was another famous writer. Yeah.
What are the chances?
Rather than C. Day-Lewis, who was the previous laureate.
Was it Daniel Day-Lewis?
The other actor. Daniel Day-Lewis. No. His tutor was C.S. Lewis.
Oh, he of
Narnia
Lion, Witch, and the
fame.
Wardrobe.
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
But this was pre-Narnia. This was pre-Christian conversion C.S. Lewis, who by his own account was a smug bugger.
Hedonist.
And he apparently in his diary called Betjeman an idle prig.
Oh.
Didn't think much of him. Betjeman didn't think much of C.S. Lewis. And they had a lifelong feud.
They have an intellectual fallout.
C.S. Lewis thought he was a waste of time. He didn't want to teach him because he was no good at anything. And he's actually mentioned in, I guess we'll come to it later, Betjeman's autobiographical poem, Summoned by Bells. He mentions a tutor refusing to let him sit the exam, saying you'd have only got a third.
Yeah.
But apparently it's worse than that. C.S. Lewis didn't say you'd have only got a third. He said you won't get any degree at all. You're not sitting it.
Crash and burn.
Yeah. C.S. Lewis did try to reach out to him. He wrote him a letter in later years. I read this thing. It said, Lewis conceded that he may have, and this is a quote, much more than I suppose for which to ask a pardon. So he's basically saying, I was probably so unpleasant that I'm not even aware of how unpleasant I was. And said, peace be to you and your house. And then said, why don't you come visit? And Betjeman basically didn't respond.
Blanked him.
And any opportunity told people how much he hated C.S. Lewis.
I don't think Betjeman was the sort of person that, I think he was a good man for bearing a grudge and keeping it for the rest of his life. When he became popular on the television, when he got into his architecture stage after his poetry thing, and he was feeling a bit insecure about his poetry, so he decided to go into study of architecture, which he was quite well renowned for, and he got on the telly a lot, and he was always on the radio. He went on a radio chat show with another famous architectural critic, Pessner, I think his name was.
Okay.
Something happened on the show, and in the show notes afterwards, according to this bloke that wrote his biography, there was a note to the BBC that said, never invite Pessner and Betjeman to be on the same set again, ever.
Okay.
I think the thing with him being at Oxford was, though, that he found his friendship group, didn't he? Because he fell in with W.H. Auden and Evelyn Waugh and a few other notable literary and creative people, and that were in the class above him. When I'm talking about class there, Ben, I'm talking about social class.
Ooh, you're making this social commentary.
When he was younger, he felt he had this craving to be included in that world of the upper set, and I think he found that at university.
Yeah,
and that cheered him up no end.
Yeah, even when failing, he kind of.
Even when he totally failed and got no degree, he was like, "It's okay. I've made some good mates for life."
And was with them able to indulge a lot of his less academic interests in, well, you sort of see developing interest in writing, architecture, especially old churches, landscapes. There's kind of very traditionalist view of the world. He likes the old-fashioned, the beautiful.
He'd have definitely voted to leave, I feel, in the Brexit referendum. He'd have been a big tick in the box.
That's the metric by which we're going to measure all the progress.
Yeah, he'd have definitely been in this
Remainer?
Sod off Europe. We're okay, thank you very much. Let's talk about. Should we talk about his poetry? quite an inauspicious start, but he's writing a lot. And then I think 3 years after he leaves the university, he publishes his first collection, Mount Zion.
Mount Zion, yeah. Because he puts a few in sort of school or university magazines, and they're all right, but nobody's really blown away. And then his mate basically says, I'm thinking of doing some publishing. We could do some of your poems.
Nice.
And so his friend, whose name I forget, publishes this little book, Mount Zion, of his.
And so starts the Phil Collins arc.
So starts the Phil Collins arc, yes. So this is where we map a poet's journey against the trajectory of Phil Collins' career, which my theory is that to greater and lesser extents, every public figure follows this arc, typified by Phil Collins.
Absolutely.
And here we have him kind of stepping into the early. There's the obscurity of the very early releases. We're starting to get some early success. It's not quite mainstream superstar, but he releases it and it gets good reviews.
Nice.
Yeah.
People said he was very, very profound through the portrayal of trivial events.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite interesting. The trivial events of everyday life.
His poetry is about stuff that people can very easily relate to, rather than
teacups and trains
and death
and countryside.
Yeah.
And bells.
Immediately a very down-to-earth poet, both in the content and in his style.
I don't think he'd do very well on the open mic poetry circuit these days, though, because he wasn't quite left-leaning enough, I don't think. He produced, I think his second piece of work or something was called Continual Dew, as in the dew in the morning. And
yes.
he defined himself as against the left-leaning circle of poets. He was more on the right of the centre line of controversial poetry.
Interesting.
Yeah. He self-described. He aspired to be in the aristocracy, and I don't think they're on the left-leaning side of the.
No, they're not. You get a lot of him celebrating a sort of old Englishness in a way that I think doesn't necessarily have to be national. I don't think it has to be nationalistic. I don't get sort of that kind of vibe from his poetry. I mean, I haven't read all of his poems.
It's not there with the St. George's flag hanging out of his window. And,
no. Yeah.
And his skinhead. I mean, he was bald, but I don't think it was a skinhead haircut. I think it was just loss of hair.
But I think it would be hard to. A lot of his poems, if he got up and read them on the poetry scene and didn't preempt it by saying, "Oh, I'm here to fight against the left-leaning elite of modern poetry, and this is about how England's the best" or something.
There's one about sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he just read out about having a picnic, I think he'd do all right.
He's the kind of hunting, shooting, and fishing sort of a guy, but not very good on a horse. He loved Cornwall as an outdoor space.
Yes.
And he used to go walking on the cliffs and along the hillsides, and
they
I
called
think
him
he enjoyed that.
The Cornish Poet Laureate.
I thought you were going to say they called him the Cornish pasty.
No.
Oh.
They called him the Cornish Poet Laureate.
Did they?
Even though he was a Londoner. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, and he's buried in Cornwall, of course.
Yeah.
At St Edinox.
He lived there as well.
Church.
And so he's buried there. He's got a very nice gravestone.
Have you been?
No, I haven't, but there's pictures.
So him being a big horse lover, he married a horsey woman, didn't he?
Yeah.
We'll get on to that. We'll get on to more of his personal life.
There's a great quote I found. What was her name?
Penelope Chetwood.
Penelope Chetwood or Chetwode or something.
Chetwood.
And their marriage was a bit tempestuous. But he apparently, and I think again this perhaps reveals an unfortunate side of him. He was quite disdainful of his wife's love of horses, and I don't know if you found it, but apparently a friend went round once. They went and sat in the living room, and his friend said, "Oh, is she going to bring some tea or something? I could really do a cup of tea." And John Betjeman said, "If we were horses, we'd have had a cup of tea by now." Which is just, with the context,
with a sugar lump,
is just wonderfully problematic, isn't it? He goes, "Well, my wife would have brought us tea, but unfortunately, she likes horses." What a moron! No.
I think they had a tempestuous relationship, but they were very much in love. And
they were fond of each other.
He married into the upper classes, which is what he wanted. That was I think that was the main reason why he wanted to. But
I think he did better out of it than she did. She never, even after they separated, she was always a very fervent defender of him, a good friend of him. But she also made comments along the lines of essentially, like all poets, he had other women. And I was aware of that, and I didn't mind. And I read that, and I thought, well, hold on a minute.
Yeah, hang on.
Hold on. Don't let Emma read this.
Statement.
Yeah, I'm not going to let my fiance read this. Blowing this whole thing wide open.
Dear, dear.
But she sort of
well,
seems
that's the only
to...
reason why I went into poetry. So that I could,
For the women.
For the women, yeah. and the money, of course.
Of course, yeah. Two things that flock to poets, yeah.
What I liked about his marriage, particularly to Penelope Chetwood, was that her father was some high up general in the army, some high ranking official in the army. So it was a very sort of upper class military family where standards were obviously expected to be very high. And when he was first introduced to her parents, they went to dinner at the Savoy or something, and he had to go in a dinner jacket. But he went with a tie, his bow tie on those elastic, not a tie your own, but one of those ones that is already on an elastic strap. And he spent the entire evening pinging it against himself, which infuriated his wife's mother, apparently. So he had this sort of cheeky, kind of childish behaviour that he just loved. He loved, even though he wanted to be part of this whole upper class echelon elite. He also spent a great deal of time just taking the mickey out of him. Yeah.
Well, I read that when he was trying to work out what to call him, saying Mr. Chetwood or Sir or whatever, and this guy was so annoyed at him that he said, "Well, I rather think you'd better call me Field Marshal."
Field Marshal, yes, Field Marshal. So it was, he loved his wife and he stayed, with her for the whole of his life. But he also had a second relationship.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he never divorced his wife.
That's right.
They separated eventually because he decided to. It was the Lady Elizabeth Cavendish.
Oh, Lady
Elizabeth and Cavendish is a kind. You don't really meet like a manual labourer called Cavendish, do you? Cavendish,
not generally.
Not the sort of people I associate with the
Cavendish and Son, plumbers. Yeah. I think what pushed him over the edge was his first wife, Penelope, became a Roman Catholic, and that added to their differences, I think. Yeah. And then it was completely incompatible.
He was interesting because he was quite religious, but his religious poetry isn't really
religious.
So it is religious, but it avoids a lot of the ritualistic, formulaic, kind of high religious language of some religious poetry. It's kind of, to him, it's a reality that he writes about in exactly the same way as he writes about anything else. So he has a very earthy Christianity to him.
Yeah, and he's always been fond of the odd church or two.
Yes, yeah.
And architecture in general. He was quite an interesting character with his poetry because I think he had a lot of problems in his life with his mental health. He never had the great faith in his work. He always thought it was a bit. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if anybody likes it.
Yeah, he would often submit things with a little kind of here it is. Can't imagine who's going to buy it.
Yeah,
but
it's not very good. But
if you want to publish it, here's some. Oh dear.
And when he was feeling he used he went into the study of architecture and architectural buildings, which has always been a joy of his, and he got really into that, and became a bit of a celebrity.
Yes,
on the small screen on the TV.
yeah. He because he also did he's primarily remembered as a poet, but he wrote an awful lot of prose. Essays and TV shows and radio shows and things. Got very involved in preservation of buildings.
Didn't he was he part of the Victorian Society or something?
That sounds right. He might well have been.
I think it was like a conservation group that decided to save every Victorian building in England.
Yeah.
He wasn't very good at it, though.
No. Well, he saved some.
St Pancras Station.
But,
which is a biggie. But then he famously, I think he wasn't moving it was when he wasn't moving in the right circles, shall we say. And he got into this kind of wanting to save the buildings. And he tried to save the old Gothic archway or Doric archway at Euston Station.
Yes.
That used to be there. And then they pulled it down within about 2 weeks of him going, save the pillars. No, we'll just take that down, mate. Sorry about that.
But when his voice carried a bit more weight,
yes,
it was apparently you really didn't want to be on the wrong side of John Betjeman, because they'd go, we're going to tear this building down. And he'd go, are you? I'm going to write a poem about that and read it on the radio.
Yeah, and put a horse's head in your bed.
Or he would, because he wrote a lot for magazines.
Did he?
And he would apparently, every now and then, he would list all the new architecture that he thought was hideous. And apparently it was like a disaster to end up on his list, because most people wouldn't know that it was bad architecture. And then he'd go, they've just built that big building, and everyone would go, oh yeah, lovely new building. And he'd go, it's terrible, it's ugly, look at it. Do you see how ugly it is? And everyone would go, yeah, ugly, tear it down. Oh, you criminals. And then suddenly you couldn't show your face in public because John Betjeman didn't like your work.
Yeah, and that's the power of television, I feel.
Apparently he did so much that nobody's even sure how much he did.
Really?
Because it wasn't all kept.
Ah.
But they reckon he might have done in excess of 500 pieces of television and or radio.
Wow.
But nobody's sure, because they go, John, do you want to do it? And you go, yeah, absolutely. Whatever it is, sign me up.
That's nearly as much as Graham Norton.
Yeah. But to the extent where his secretaries, one of their jobs was to stop him accepting more work. Because he took on too much. He loved being busy. He loved being liked, present and visible and valued. And so he would do more and more and more.
So where does that put him on the Phil Collins arc? Well,
I mean, at this point, I guess he quite quickly ends up right at the top. Very, very quickly, and he stays there for a long time, really. And in the eyes of the public, he stays there pretty much permanently.
So. Yeah.
He quickly gets up there, and people just love everything he writes.
I wonder if he ever did a Christmas special.
He did do a Christmas poem.
Did he?
Yeah. I think his enduring reputation maybe is as a almost comedic, quite twee, very English poet. But as you hinted at earlier, he was not always happy.
No, not at all. I think when he became poet laureate in 1972, I think it was, somebody asked him, well, what's it like? What's it like, John, being poet laureate? Everybody loving your poetry, and he was quoted as saying, "I'm never pleased with any of it. Never pleased with any of it.
Never pleased with any of it.
Any of it."
Yeah. But did you want to read? Because he wasn't always happy. Did you want to read one of his more somber?
Yeah, I came across this poem. It's called Tregardock, which I'm guessing. Well, I know it's a place in Cornwall, which he loved. He loved Cornwall, but there's such a tinge of sadness to this poem, and you'll get it when we get to the last stanza. A mist that from the moor across in sea fog wraps Port Isaac Bay. The moan of warning from Trevose makes grimmer this October day. Only the shore and cliffs are clear, gigantic slithering shelves of slate in waiting awfulness appear like a journalism full of hate. On the steep path a bramble leaf stands motionless and wet with dew. The grass bends down, the brackens brown, the grey-green gorse alone is new. Cautious my sliding footsteps go to quarried rock and dripping cave. The ocean, leaden still below, hardly has strength to lift a wave. I watch it crisp into its height and flap exhausted on the beach, this long surf menacing and white, hissing as far as it can reach. The dunlin do not move, each bird is stationary on the sand, as if a spirit is in it heard, the final end of sea and land. And I, on my volcanic edge, exposed to ridicule and hate, still do not dare to leap the ledge and smash to pieces on the slate.
I mean,
it's
that's
dark,
heavy.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's dark.
So he didn't shy away from heavy topics, and maybe it's that people don't want to remember the sad ones, because people want to remember him as a figure of fun, and he could be a figure of fun. But he was very much. This is an overused phrase. People talk about the people's princess or the people's poet, and I think we spoke about Tennyson being the people's poet. But he, at the time, even was considered. Yeah, he is the real poet laureate. Even when he wasn't the poet laureate, people were going, "Well, hold on, this guy's actually saying what we think and what we feel."
Yeah.
Yeah. He had some. Even his poetry was so beloved it saved his life.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Tell us about that,
This is
Rick.
an unbelievable story. I didn't realise this. So in the second, he was like the James Bond of poet laureates.
Well, I mean, not quite, but
he did a little bit in the wartime. Yeah. So he was he went as the press attaché to the UK government to Ireland. Yeah, press attaché, wheedled his way into the government and became very popular because he's a nice, affable sort of a chap. But all the time, Ben, he was sending little notes back to the UK government, the English government, with his insights on IRA activities and Irish ministers and various bits and bobs. Anything that he could find out, basically. He was grassing them up.
A little bit of spying.
Grassing them up.
Spying, yeah.
But yeah, and then he got on the IRA hit list, which was
they're
astonishing.
planning to kill him,
and they had a plot to assassinate him, but poetry saved his life. Yeah, because apparently the head honcho who was in charge of assassinations apparently read some of his poems and called the whole thing off. Said, "No, he's all right.
His poetry was too good.
His poetry's pretty good.
Really enjoyed it.
Just talked about tea cakes and trams, and seems all right. Seems like a nice bloke. Couldn't possibly be a spy. Do you think that'll ever happen to you, Ben?
I'm not sure. I'm
an assassination attempt will be foiled
important enough to be assassinated. Really,
by one of your classic pieces.
I've never got out of anything using a poem. I did once manage to talk my way out of a mugging in London. With some self-deprecating humour, such that by the end, the would-be mugger gave me a fist bump and told me that I was all right. And then from then on, for a few years afterwards, whenever he was out mugging, he'd see me and he'd go, "You all right, Ben?"
"All right, mate."
Like, "Oh, you all right, Finley? You all right, mate?"
Thumbs up.
And he'd leave me alone.
Nice.
He did later punch one of my mates in the face so hard that he broke his glasses.
So he's we're on the end of his story now, aren't we?
Well, we're getting there. Yeah,
we're getting there. So he
because he moved around a bit.
He did.
He
survived assassination.
Survived assassination. His marriage goes a bit wibbly, so he moves into the city of London. And here's a fun fact for you. He lived at number 43 Cloth Fair in the city of London. Yeah. And if you go there, there's a blue plaque. John Betjeman lived here. Yeah. And next door, 41 to 42 Cloth Fair, that building is the oldest house in the city of London, the oldest still residential building in the city of London.
Really?
So he'd nearly lived there. He lived next door.
So he lived next door
to the oldest house.
Right.
And by oldest house, it obviously wasn't the first one ever built there, but it's the oldest still existing, still in use as a house. And if you go there today, it's still somebody's house, but you can go have a look.
That reminds me of that joke, 668, the neighbour of the beast.
Neighbour of the beast, yeah. But he, so he lived there. But he, towards the end...
That's a good claim to fame, wasn't it? I lived next door to the oldest building.
Yeah, I lived next to the oldest building. He probably went and hung out there. But anyway, towards the end, he also, suffering from Parkinson's, starts to possibly affect his poetry. And he does have a bit of at least as far as the critics are concerned, he has a bit of a wobble. It becomes trendy to criticise him.
So he must be somewhere on the Phil Collins arc with that sort of...
Yeah, so I think in terms
sort of popular behaviour.
Weirdly, in terms of public opinion, he's still popular, but the critics
That's all that counts, isn't it? That's all that counts.
Yeah. His books are still selling many, many things, but he writes... What does it for a lot of critics and a lot of people is he writes a Jubilee hymn.
Right.
In 1977 for the Queen's Jubilee.
Silver.
His defence is that a hymn is not a poem, But he gets rinsed for it.
Really?
People start criticising him, criticised left, right and centre. It opens, this is the opening. In days of disillusion, however low we've been, to fire us and inspire us, God gave to us our queen. It's not great.
But in fairness to him, though, if you're poet laureate, you've got to be churning out these
and I think he didn't
poems all day long, haven't you?
He
He's
didn't
probably just
like
bored with the whole thing.
He didn't like doing the laureate stuff. It panicked him working to a deadline. But this politician, conservative politician Nicholas Fairbairn, comes out and basically says he calls it pathetic.
Pathetic.
Says this is pathetic.
That's very strong.
And so a lot of people go, okay, well, you write a better one.
Yeah.
Write a better one. And he has a go and he writes, Queen Sovereign Universal, Queen my Queen, Silver Queen, Glint of Britain, Queen Woman Serene. Which is pretty trash, right? So he talks a big talk and then he can't deliver. Yeah. But then the composer of the music, Malcolm Williamson, master of the Queen's music, he hears about this politician and I think this is wonderful. He says, having lived with this hymn and having loved and cherished it and seen it grow under the Poet Laureate's hands, I don't admire enormously the verdict of a minor politician after he has seen it for less than a day.
Hey!
Which is like,
take that.
Oh.
Yes.
But he's possibly, maybe one problem the critics have with him is he's a bit omnipresent by this point.
Yeah.
He's done poetry, he's done essays, he's done TV, radio. He's written these things called Shell guides.
Oh yeah, those little touring guides of the.
Because Shell want people to buy more petrol.
Buy.
Yeah, they want to buy more petrol, so they write guides to you should drive here and have a look at.
Yeah.
He writes these guides, and so I think he's been everywhere for a long time, and critics get bored. But in the heart of the people, he's still their favourite. Yeah, he's still the man. Yeah.
But he's dead now.
He is. How'd that happen?
Well, he had Parkinson's, and then he had a series of strokes, and I think that he started writing a lot about death and mortality.
There was one I think you'd bookmarked.
Well, yeah, he
sort of indicate that it's sort of him writing about sort of preparing for
The Last Laugh. It's called. It's quite fun. Well, he was buried in 1984, in May 1984, and he's buried in a remote church.
He died.
Enodox Church. In Cornwall.
He died 19th of May, 10 years to the day before I was born.
You always have to make it all about yourself, don't you?
I'm just saying, Benjamin sounds a lot like Betjeman.
Oh.
Well, welcome back, John Betjeman.
Hey! I like what you've done there.
Yeah.
If only it was true.
He's back.
Yeah.
Anyway, what about The Last Laugh?
So So I quite like this. I might have this on a T-shirt, and they can bury me in that. It's called The Last Laugh. I made hay while the sun shone, my work sold. Now, if the harvest is over and the world cold, give me the bonus of laughter as I lose hold.
And it's funny because it's very solemn, but he gets laughter. He's
It
kind
does.
of like, if Live, Laugh, Love was good, it's that poem.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't think he would have approved of those.
No, I think he would have found that a bit
those sentimental,
cheesy.
Cheesy sayings.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have liked it.
I found a quote, Rick.
Did you?
That
amazing.
When he died, the Times,
the
newspaper,
Times, no less,
wrote a thing, which I think is interesting because it's a tribute to him, but it's not. They're not exactly hero worshipping him, but they kind of sum up people's feelings to him. Few could be so rightly endowed for the role of poet laureate in the present age, even though his explicitly laureate verse was undeniably weak. He was a living repudiation of the idea that poetry must necessarily be arcane or saturnine, and though he had no more success than any other poet since the divine right of kings fell into disfavour in celebrating royal weddings and nativities without bathos, he did celebrate, with the most lively specificity, a Britain that his readers could recognise and love, while applying a compassionate lash to some of its private and public faults. If the laureateship is to be something more than a gong for the eminent elderly bard, as it should be, and something like a role of national poet, his approach is the one that a successor is most likely to find rewarding.
So they're saying he's shaped the modern poet laureate going forward.
Yeah, even though his laureate stuff wasn't that great, because he didn't like writing to a deadline. He might not have had much luck writing about the Jubilee.
Yeah,
but everything else,
he was bob on.
He was the people's poet. He was the people's princess poet.
Nice. So Ben, we normally finish with a poem that we've written in the style of the poet in question, using a 3-word generator, and our 3-word random generator gave us the words fast, bread, ambiguity. So have you got a poem?
I have got a poem.
Right, okay.
What I tried to capture was the simplicity of his rhyming, choosing a mundane topic and just enjoying it. And he also, we haven't really discussed it, but he also was famous for developing crushes on young, pretty women.
Oh, yes. Freckled women with turned-up noses. He had quite a style.
Something about turned-up noses, yeah. To the point where it's speculated that some of his secretaries might have left, not because he did anything, but because he was a bit too sort of puppy-eyed around them. So I thought I'd touch on that, but so that I don't get in trouble. The young pretty woman in the poem is my fiancée Emma.
Okay.
But she's only mentioned twice, so it shouldn't be too embarrassing. So mine is called An Indigestible Dilemma on a Summer's Saturday Evening in Bartley Green. A great, so very great dilemma. I planned a tea last week with Emma, anticipating this repast. I spent all that long day in fast. This nurtured to my brief delight a ripe and roaring appetite, ready for sandwiches with brie, almond croissants and jam and tea. But as I passed the baker's shop, on my way I was forced to stop. Desire turned all at once instead to lemon cake and steaming bread. The moral of the scene to me laboured in ambiguity. An independent bakery's an ever rarer sight to see, and so should be supported freely. Thus my conscience soothed, not really. I ate that day tween there and Emma's, enough to give me awful tremors.
Very good.
Thank you.
Not bad.
I thought it felt very very English, and
I think Betjeman would have liked it.
I hope so. He probably would have liked Emma. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. Is she freckly? A little bit upturned nose?
No, not freckly. No, and her nose is
you'd have been all right.
Upturned,
you'd have been all right.
But I wanted to, I like when there's something very satisfying about writers talking about food, nice food. So I thought I'd get some cake and tea and that in there.
So funnily, mine touches upon the bakery as well.
Oh, okay. So we both latched onto that.
I suppose it might do if when bread is one of the 3 words that you've got to include.
That's true. Yeah, we probably couldn't avoid that.
Anyway, so and mine has a self-describing title as well. So mine's called Morning in the City. When cars race around the contraflow as fast as courage will allow, the baker on his round must go, his daily bread to distant Slough, his currant buns to Wanstead Heath, and Eccles cakes to Watling Street, where porters sit and rest beneath the awning's shade, and prop their feet on luggage bound for Charing Cross, while clerks from Messrs. Jones and Sons find ambiguity and loss within the books of Jameson's, and at the chiming of the clock release the staff and turn the key within the heavy steel lock, retire to lunch, return at 3.
Lovely. You got quite a lot in there. You got Slough in there, Slough.
Yeah, Slough.
You got trains
in
there.
Charing Cross Station.
Some food.
Yeah.
And ordinary people.
Ordinary people.
Doing ordinary things. The only thing I wasn't sure about right at the beginning is the word contraflow.
Right.
I don't know if Betjeman would have used the word contraflow.
I'm sure he would have done. In the modern day context, at which this poem was obviously set.
Of course. Contraflow. What a...
I think he would have liked the architectural nature of the contraflow, though.
True.
No,
I did wonder whether I could get some architecture into my poem, but it would have felt a bit forced.
Very
within
good.
the story. But I enjoyed writing that one. It was fun.
I enjoyed writing that.
Because there's there we go. So that was
that's the end of Betjeman.
John Betjeman.
Sir John.
Sir Jabes.
Sir JB.
That was Sir Jabes. That was it. That was fun. An interesting, surprisingly deep man who lived a surprisingly eventful life.
He did.
Almost got killed by the IRA. I think he's the first of our poets
ever to be
who nearly got killed by the
assassinated.
IRA.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if there's any more.
Okay. Until next time.
Until next time, we haven't got a sign off slate. Until next time, keep rhyming.
Yeah. keep it real.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Harrow on the Hill. When melancholy autumn comes to Wembley, and electric trains are lighted after tea, the poplars near the stadium are trembly, with their tap and whispering to me like the sound of little breakers spreading out along the surf line, when the estuary's filling with the sea. Then Harrow on the Hill's a rocky island, and Harrow churchyard full of sailors' graves, and the constant click and kissing of the trolley buses hissing is the level to the Wealdstone turned to waves, and the rumble of the railway...